Welcome to HD Nation, your guide to the best in HD content, the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. I'm Patrick Norton.
Hey, and I'm Robert Herron.
CES 2014, Happy New Year, people.
Indeed.
You, Mr. Robert Herron, have not been impressed by a single thing here at CES.
There was a lot of eye candy on this show floor. I've been impressed by quite a few things, actually, but I'm also surprised at what I didn't see at the show, just as much as what I did. So.
No plasmas on the show floor.
No, none to speak. Although they will be coming some in 2014. Very, very few, if any, on this show floor, though.
Big slide in the middle of LG's opening keynote here at the show was, we will have plasmas in 2014. That may not have been the exact wording, but that was certainly what they meant to say. I was certainly excited about one of the big announcements very early on in the LG press event, which was that House of Cards, Netflix.com/TechZilla, support the show. Please subscribe if you're not on Netflix. Shot in 4K, edited in 4K, mastered in 4K, going to be available on LG televisions. And then later on in the day, the Samsung show, Samsung's like, look, we're bringing 4K or UHD or whatever we're calling it today. We'll talk about that in a second. And they're working with Netflix and Amazon Prime and Vudu and pretty much everybody else. And then Samsung's also going to be offering UHD content on a hard drive that they're going to sell, and then hopefully have 50 pieces of content in UHD by the end of 2014.
That's also part of the story of where you're going to get 4K content this year, is it's going to be streamed to you, or you're going to buy a box with pre-recorded content on it. We saw nothing as far as a new Blu-ray disc standard that would bring 4K into the house. And beyond that, the systems you saw, including Netflix, were some of the best looking as far as streaming 4K at about, say, 15 megabit. Granted, it is a clip they're playing locally. We also saw the YouTube VP9 demos using their new compression standard as well. Pretty disappointing overall in terms of how Google's VP9 looked compared to the Netflix demo using their compression technology.
So VP9 is Google's update to VP8, which is their open source video codec. VP9 is designed to compete with H.265. Now, for a lot of people are like, how much bandwidth will I need to stream 4K HD to my house? Well, you should need about the same as 1080p. If your existing network will stream 1080p, you should be able to stream 4K because of H.265, which is the follow-up to H.264. We talked about it a little bit last year, but the idea is really simple. H.265 crams 4K into the same space as 1080p, or 4 1080p signals into the same space as a signal 1080p video. This is very compelling, not just for pretty much everybody who shares and sends around video on the web, but also cable companies and everybody else on the planet, because even if they don't really care about 4K or they're not particularly concerned about 4K, if they adopt H.265, they can considerably lower the footprint or the bandwidth footprint of the video that they distribute.
I've seen savings of about 50% overall bandwidth for just about any content possible, and that's a pretty decent improvement compared to H.264 that everyone's really familiar with already, and it is widely available. And just about every new TV I saw out there, it was incorporating H.265 support, or HEVC, the high efficiency video codec. They're going to have that built into the TVs without a doubt for 2014. So if you get a 4K set, chances are it's going to have that decoder built right in, and to be able to handle even high frame rate streams. So I'm not seeing anything that says that they won't be able to handle whatever the best quality is they can deliver with these new formats either.
85 inch is now sort of the common high end, or will be.
It's ridiculous.
78, 85 inches.
And it's not just the major manufacturers like LG, Samsung. We're also talking folks like Haier and TCL. They are offering right now 85-inch 4K panels in some cases. That's the other big deal too. 4K is the new 1080p. Everyone has a 4K set. Every flagship television we saw was a 4K or ultra high definition set.
3D's dead.
There are other uses, like that dual view technology that Samsung shows, where you can do two 2D images, that kind of thing. And glasses 3D is still around, and I'm seeing more demonstrations with that as well. But for generally speaking,
3D is not dead, but like a wounded cat, it has crawled under the porch and is probably waiting to die.
It is no longer the pinnacle focus point of what everyone's doing here.
A big part of that is because as these screens get huge, and as the yields get better on these huge screens, like 78, 85, 105 inch, but certainly in that sort of 70 to 85 inch range, the pixels start to look really big at 1080p. So 4K is going to be very compelling, and the yields on 4K must be looking pretty good, because there were dozens of UHD or 4K HDTVs announced at the show today, and OLED is now, if everything works, OLED is going to be mainstream in 2014.
And again, I mentioned too, some of the off manufacturers you might not be aware of. It seems like they're all adopting LG's OLED technology that uses a white, a red, a blue, and a green subpixel. Their white OLED technology is now being bought and used by a variety of those third-party manufacturers, like TCL in particular was one they showed off. 55-inch, it looked beautiful. So I'll be curious to see what kind of pricing they can bring with their branding and getting the costs down. If they're able to produce these panels in the quantities, apparently they are, because LG is shipping them out. That bodes well for the technology being adopted by more people. I'm not seeing Samsung's OLED technology being widely adopted by anyone else yet. That could be just simply them keeping it in-house for themselves, which is no doubt there.
I want to give a shout out. Roku announced a Roku TV. We did a short video on that on Texilabytes. Essentially, televisions using Roku's interface as the interface for the television. So you have the Roku controller. They can do an IR one. The manufacturer chooses the IR or the really awesome RF one. You can click through, you can choose your Blu-ray input, HDMI 2, whatever your dish input is, your DirecTV input, yada, yada, yada. But it's really smooth. It was running really, really fast, although it's very early and 6 months out. TCL and Hisense, you probably never heard of them, but they manufacture about 9 or 10% of the televisions sold in the world, actually. They're pretty big companies. That was really, really cool to see. WebOS was interesting as a demo.
I liked it just simply because it gives, at least with the LG demonstrations, where all of their new TVs are going to be using WebOS that they acquired, I believe, a year or two ago, as the basis for their new interface. And it's a nice improvement. It's a revamped style. I think it looks a lot better as far as the TV setup goes, and it should be easier to do things like navigate. And given the increased performance of the chips that they're putting in these TVs, you're going to get probably better app performance as well, although that was pretty hard to tell on the show floor itself. But overall, just the look and feel of the new interface and what they're capable of doing with it just came a long way toward just making the overall package look better and perform better.
I mean, the demo looked gorgeous. So do 85-inch, 78-inch OLED TVs. Those are pretty much the biggest ones we're seeing.
Yeah.
Are you in love with OLED yet?
I love it. It's still just really pricey. And the other thing is, the LG did demonstrate, and they're shipping this year, some 4K sets in OLED technology. That's something Samsung's not doing this year. They've demonstrated 4K and beyond with their OLED technology, but they're not actually going to ship one this year, which is kind of interesting on that. But overall, if you're looking for the finest picture quality today, it's likely going to be an OLED panel, especially if you've got a light-controlled room and you want inky, dark, black levels. Because the beauty of an OLED panel is that when you turn the pixel off to make black, there is no light coming out. There's no bleed of a backlight system like you have on LED technology or LCD panels, and that just makes for phenomenal image quality. And also with the more premium set, actually LG's 77-inch model, they're actually incorporating within the pixel structures a way to monitor what the color temperature is for every pixel, so it maintains a nice even picture. So even as the panel ages over time, it should maintain uniformity that you expect out of a premium set, which I thought was pretty cool.
Not a lot of projectors.
Actually, very few. Some commercial demonstrations. Panasonic showing off what I think is one of the largest physically sized. I mean, we're talking 3 feet by about almost 3 feet by about 1.5 feet high.
For the war room.
It was a commercial projector for 4K demonstration, and it was showing their pixel quadrupling technology, which who the heck knows what that was. But the image quality was really beautiful in the demonstration I saw. Also, Sony showed off a piece of furniture that they will be releasing later this summer that essentially looks like it would be something that would just sit against the wall, and it almost looks like a seat in a sense, a bench seat style, but there was a pop-up projector, a short throw design, 4K imagery from about 7 inches away from a wall, gives you a 150-inch picture.
So
and
you're telling me I could rebuild the mantle in my house and then blast the image up above?
Beautifully, and it was cool technology in the sense that it was integrated into something, and when you weren't using it, it tucked away nicely, and you didn't know it was there. It was hard to tell by the design how big the actual projector was, but I doubt it's any larger than any other short throw projector we've seen recently. And I'm looking forward to going to CES, the next version of CES. It's another electronics show where most of the projector manufacturers will likely be introducing their true 4K designs coming up later, and that was. Also, in that same demonstration room with Sony, they also showed off some prototype laser projector systems. One that would go through a light fixture onto a kitchen table, and another one that used light fixtures that were already mounted in the ceiling to project that laser image onto the ceiling. So when this was all combined together with the short throw projector, a mirror actually that was also a display system, in addition to the light fixtures, projecting laser
So
video.
what, I would like turn my living room into a fish tank and watch the fish on the walls?
You saw the demo.
No, I didn't.
That's exactly
That
what
was just the first obvious thing.
It was
to me.
It was that, and you could, and
I've been
depending
watching
on
a
the
lot of anime
orientation of the
lately.
display, like when you looked up, you would
Right.
see the ocean and the sun above you. When you looked down, you would see the coral reefs on the table. It was pretty cool, and it was fun to see Sony actually having a good time with that, in addition to some of their amazing TVs and technology that they were showing off as well.
You want to talk about 4K versus UHD next, or super, super bright displays?
We should, you know what? The super bright display technology. Okay. Let's just get that out of the way real quick. If there's one trend among most of the LCDs I've seen at this show, they're all brighter. They're all significantly brighter than I remember them being. And a few models are actually incorporating a new technology from Dolby Labs called Dolby Vision. Right. And that's essentially a technology that the company acquired about 8 years ago from a company called Brightside that many, many moons ago, the gentleman here and me covered quite extensively. It's a full array LED backlighting system, but far more LEDs. We're talking maybe 1,800 LEDs compared to, or I should say maybe like 1,800 zones on the back of the LED, the screen that can be individually tweaked up and down to, if it's a dark spot on the picture,
right.
it'll make it inky black, no light at all. And if it's extra bright, that's really where the kicker is with this. If you need extra brightness from the screen, they are pushing 2x the brightness I've seen of any other TV to date. So
it's pretty crazy. With OLED,
it's too bright.
Yeah, I mean, with OLED, right, they're kind of gunning for this thing where you have this super, super black pixel to a super, super bright pixel, and the idea that they're going to finally bring a higher dynamic range, more of what your eyeball can see to the video display. There's a whole long conversation we can have about increased color gamuts and the lack thereof, and sort of the contrast range of the video that's being captured. We're not going to go down that particular rat hole right now, but mostly you're seeing this being used to, I guess if you're in LA or the desert and you want to watch outside, it will be bright enough for you to see it. You will be able to tan in front of some of these monitors.
Without a doubt. In a dimly lit room, and I had a chance to view this technology with Vizio on their new reference series TVs, it was too bright for a dimly lit room. However, they also had a similar demonstration in a well lit room. That extra brightness actually can go a long way toward just making the picture look really good and less washed out, more punch, more contrast when you're dealing with a normally lit room, or let alone a brightly lit room. Other manufacturers incorporating that will also, Sharp is showing off the panel, and TCL in one of their ultra high definition 85-inch panels.
This is pretty much going to replace plasma technology.
Pretty close. I don't know what the licensing cost is for Dolby's Vision technology. It was very expensive back in the day, so hopefully the cost is down now. And I'll be curious to see how many more manufacturers need it. But if you need a super bright LCD panel, you now have a good option. Keep an eye out for the Dolby Vision technology, because it was ridiculously bright. I even tweeted a photo, and I just happened to have my hand right in front of the screen where the sun was shining through directly into the camera lens. And somebody commented, it looked like there was it looked like you were looking through a window and the sun was right behind your hand. It was. And like I said, it was too bright for any kind of moderately lit room. But hey, for those brightly lit environments, it was perfect. I really did like it.
They've been setting up these sort of tech zones here at CES this year. 3D printing is one of them, and high resolution audio is another one. So Audio Engine, Calyx Audio, Macintosh, Cambridge Audio.
Even Sony, they had some great high resolution audio products, portable units, in addition to some larger units that incorporated amplification and things like that. And I just like this trend toward better quality audio, increasing the bit rate, increasing the hertz response in terms of the size of the words to describe the audio. If you're a compressed music junkie, man, maybe it's time to take a listen to high resolution audio.
At least lossless. Like, you should at least be using lossless. Aston and Kern's got a new. They've added. I want to say they've added wireless, like Wi-Fi, to their portable player, so you can now automatically download like from HD tracks and other websites and download it directly onto the machine. So it's interesting to see. And actually, a lot of this is affordable. Some of it's super high-end, but a lot of it's actually affordable. And I like the idea that some of the higher resolution audio options are becoming more accessible.
And this is not just simply a lossless rip of a CD. This is a whole step up in terms of audio quality. So if you've been watching, say, movies in Dolby Digital for a long time now, and you're used to, or DTS, and you're used to that sound, and then you suddenly listen to like Dolby Digital True HD or DTS HD Master Audio, that change in difference is what you can expect from the music tracks in the same way going to high resolution audio.
The selection is still very limited, but it's interesting to watch because there's a lot of very new stuff and a lot of very classic stuff and a lot of classic music and a lot of jazz. A lot of Coltrane, big Coltrane fan. They've got you there. Beck's there. And of course there's like Elton John and a lot of 60s and 70s
Beck Blu-ray
stuff.
recently, and it's a nice demo disc, I gotta say, and it's good to listen to. So.
Favorite thing of the show so far?
Wow, oh man, what's made me drool? I have to say Vizio. They had a room full of tech, not on the show floor. They do a separate ballroom over at the Wynn, and they demonstrated quite a bit. Number one, right off the bat, they ditched 3D across the line. If you're gonna buy, if you want a 3D Vizio TV, you better buy it from a 2013 model and do it quick, because the 2014 models are no longer 3D enabled. However, they do have the Via Plus app system though, that is a nice step up overall. More power, they're using better CPUs now, a 6-core processor. It's actually a quad core and a dual core put together, plus separate video processing for some of their higher end sets. But I've noticed that right off the bat, compared to the TV we reviewed a couple months ago for their current lineup, the quality of their interface has improved quite a bit, and just the overall performance and speed of the interface is much improved. The E-Series, that Everyone series, actually everything that Vizio is offering this year, for the most part, the larger screen sizes will be fully full array LED backlit. So if you're tired of the edge-lit LEDs that everyone's using right now, and some of the glare issues, or not glare, but how black isn't quite as inky as it should be, especially if you're viewing off axis or not. These direct lit LED systems that were becoming quite rare, Samsung's all but abandoned it, except for a couple of their super premium TVs, but across the board, Vizio is doing this with their E and P series. Starting with their entry-level lineup. The differences being basically that for their entry-level systems, you're going to have what they call, if you divide the screen up into zones, how many zones can you control independently? The lower end's going to have fewer zones than the reference series model. Relatively, like on the low end, about 6 zones. At the highest end, they're going to have about 384 zones. So exquisite coverage to be able to enable just superb contrast across the board. They also are introducing a new P-Series 4K television, and they just announced pricing on that today. Competitive. It's going to be probably one of the least, most affordable 4K panels out there. And I just have to say too, they introduced their brand new reference series, about 2 years in the making.
Wow.
An impressive display. It uses Dolby Vision technology, so insanely bright, 4K resolution, and just beautiful. Also, it's a modular design. It's the first time I've seen on a flat panel TV, at least the 65-inch model. There's also a 120-inch model, which was probably the biggest screen I've seen on the show floor, and that will be for sale this year. So, anyway, the 65-inch model, though, the actual soundbar on the TV is removable. It's modular in a sense, and just because you took it off the TV doesn't mean it's just a wasted piece of hardware. You can repurpose that as a soundbar for another TV. It actually incorporates HDMI input or throughput, so you can add that to say, oh, I'm not going to use it in this room, I'll take that soundbar and go use it somewhere else. So even if you don't use it, it was still a great thing. And it also supports Rec 2020, which is going to be a part of H.265. It's an expanded color palette, and if you can see the difference between what Blu-ray video looks like and its relatively constricted amount of colors that are available to draw the picture, Rec 2020 brings such a greater palette of colors. Reds that look a little orange on most LCDs can look dark red on one of these panels. And we're in a catch-22 though, because there's no content yet really that's widely available using the new standards. We're still mostly at our best case scenario, still Blu-ray. So until we get more content formatted for these TVs that can support this new standard, we're kind of like, well, it looks great, but this is a demo. I mean, just a demo at this point.
It's funny, a lot of people are like, when's the Blu-ray 4K announcement going to be? And in theory, they might be able to include H.265 into the Blu-ray spec, but that will almost absolutely require you to buy a new Blu-ray player, but it's not going to, I mean, the mastered in 4K is the start, the 4K scans, the new digitally recorded movies. There's a lot of potential 4K content out there, but it's really not going to show up anytime soon.
Quick mention though for Vizio, they had an audio product that kind of just excited me. A 7-inch boombox, essentially, that is powered by Android. It had a 7-inch display on it, and the sound quality, they had a 4.7-inch model that was very similar. Very clean version of Android, so you can download whatever apps you want, your favorite multimedia apps, but the sound quality of this thing was just phenomenal for such a small product. And I have to say, just having, I didn't think I would want Android built into a portable audio system, but the smaller product, the 4.7-inch, could be a great tabletop display, or maybe next to your bed or something like that. But the boombox in particular had really the oomph and the thump that came out of this box compared to the 4-inch model or whatever else they were showing.
What kind of battery life?
Pretty good, rechargeable, so I wasn't able to tell right there, and they were kind of hesitant to say anything, but it sounded like it was going to be decent. And the fact that it was rechargeable and it had, you know, built-in storage for your apps and things like that, I just kept thinking, what would I do with this? And it's like, oh, I'm going to load up all my favorite music apps and streaming services, and and the sound quality is really what grabbed my attention. And it had beautiful brushed aluminum design or anodized aluminum design that just, it looked great. So good stuff from them. Lots of good audio products. Oh, they had a new flagship soundbar too. That also sounded great, but we'll get into that sometime.
4K gaming, I'm waiting for later this year as some of the high-end GPUs start to drop in price. Some of the new models come out because I think 4K, the killer app, I think at this point for 4K televisions is really going to be gaming. There's some really amazing opportunities there, especially with some of the sort of the massively multiplayer stuff. And FLIR, who does thermal imaging technology.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Forward-looking infrared.
Oh my goodness, so these like $3,000 cameras where you can see an animal, 100, 200, 300 yards down the road, or you can look at the house and figure out where the thermal hotspots are, or you can basically search for your kids if they're hiding in the backyard. Really, really amazing stuff. So FLIR has traditionally been about $3,000. They came up with a new sensor, and they have a $350 back for iPhones. I think that's going to be fascinating. I'm going to buy one. I have to get a new iPhone.
I want it. I want one for an Android phone, but it's the case design because it's a back for a product. It's nice to go with the iPhone because that's just a standard size. But
you got to start somewhere. It's really interesting. We did a Texabytes on that one. The sensor's fascinating. I got to talk to the president of the company, figure out how they dropped the price of this technology in order of magnitude. We'll get one of those in for review as soon as we can. If I don't just buy one outright, I'm going to hack one so I can use it in my truck down in the desert. That'll be fun.
It might look gimmicky at first, but it's actually the FLIR. It's forward-looking infrared technology, and they are also using the camera built into the phone too, and merging those images in order to create just a really effective, affordable as well infrared view, or not infrared, but heat view of whatever environment you want to use your phone in.
Thermal vision, thermal imaging.
The cool demo I saw too is the gentleman who was demonstrating it put his hand on the wall for just a minute or a couple seconds, took it away, and you could still see the heat print of where the hand was. And I was like, oh, that's like a cool way to do, I don't know, kind of virtual graffiti where you could just draw a message real quick, and as long as, let's say, within a couple minutes somebody would go by and look at it, it would still be there, but yet, I don't know, I'm subversive.
The soul of an artiste, people. That's it for this episode of HD Nation. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
We'll see you next week.